I'm John Hayden. Let's queer up the USA view. What people are doing here is beautiful. Minneapolis rises against ICE. Folks in Minneapolis are taking to the streets in growing numbers after ICE agents shot and killed a second person over the weekend, deepening fear and fury across the city. The killing of Alex Pretti, a 37-year-old ICU nurse at the Department of Veterans Affairs, comes just days after an agent killed queer wife and mother Renee Nicole Good. Clear video evidence contradicts federal claims that either posed a threat. Phone footage suggests that Renee Good was shot while driving away, and Pretti was shot 10 times after being beaten to the ground for helping a woman who had already been shoved and attacked by an agent. Trump administration officials claim that Pretti had threatened agents with a gun. Videos show that he did not. Despite accusations that both were paid agitators, Minneapolis residents are not backing down. Instead, they are building vast, decentralized protest networks. Trans writer and activist Margaret Killjoy wrote that she has never seen anything approaching this scale in 24 years of protest work, saying, quote, "Minneapolis is not accepting what's happening here. What people are doing here is beautiful. It's a tragic beauty, but a real one," end quote. From a massive general strike shutting down 700 businesses to faith leaders staging a sit-in at Target's headquarters to neighbors too afraid to leave home, the protests continue to grow. You know, I think this is a tipping point in this administration. I thought Epstein files would be, but we're suddenly just not talking about that.
Yeah.
But this may be Trump's Katrina. Like the Bush administration never recovered from that because it was clear for everyone to see what was happening, and this is clear.
The same thing, and it's a bunch now. It's not just isolated incidents. It's happening constantly, repeatedly. U.S. citizens. People who look like everything, and there's not one group that's being targeted here. I have friends who I have to fight myself and say, stop being dramatic, because they're not being dramatic when they tell me that they're afraid to leave their homes. And I'm like, well, why are you? This is the world that we live in right now. So it's scary. It is scary. However, when we like to search for the good here at Queer News Tonight, Minneapolis is not standing down. They're banding together as a community. And when there is power in numbers, right? So,
you know, the official narrative is really breaking down. I used to call him Teflon Don because nothing would stick to him. And now I feel like his administration was also a very Teflon kind of administration. You know, they could do anything with impunity, but it really does seem like there is a tide turning here with them. I mean, you have Kristi Noem, you know, getting up and saying that, you know, this person wanted to do maximum damage. He was, you know, a paid agitator. He was a terrorist. I mean, these are all some fighting words. You know, you really can't be saying that about people that are really just out there exercising their constitutional right to gather, you know, First Amendment, freedom of assembly. You have a Second Amendment right to own a gun. He was a licensed, lawful gun owner. What about Kyle Rittenhouse? You know, several years ago, he went to a protest with I'm not sure about gun names, but I think it was an AK-47. You know, he shot somebody to death. They made a GoFundMe for him. You know, he wasn't called a terrorist on the right, you know, but the right are calling Alex Pretti, you know, they're calling him a terrorist. They're calling him an agitator. What he was doing was he was trying to rekindle our understanding of what humanity could look like if we really did what these Christian fundamentalists say to do, which is to love your neighbor, but they don't act out any of what they claim to be their core beliefs. So, you know, it's all very devastating, and I really do see the narrative is breaking down. There's only so many of us that you can call terrorists or agitators or paid insurrectionists before that starts to crumble, because enough people are going to get so pissed off that they're going to get out in the streets, and I'm not saying violently, and I don't condone violence at all. No violence, anybody. You know, but make your voices heard, because we live in a democracy, and for as long as we do, you have that right to do that. So, you know, follow orders, you know, don't get yourself hurt, but be out there, be visible, make your voices heard. We really need you now. So.
And Queer News Tonight, we're sending all of our love to Minneapolis, from South Florida to Minneapolis. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight.